I've got Jenna with me from Clearity.
Hi. And yeah, I just want to welcome you guys all to our first digital marketing lunch series. It's the first part in a three-part series. And I'm actually the content marketing specialist at Clearity. We're a staffing recruiting company for marketing, creative, and technology roles in the Twin Cities. And I am here today with Ted Kozlowski from DemandQuest. And DemandQuest is actually a Google Premier partner, and they're dedicated to doing marketing training and education here in the Twin Cities. So we thought it would be a fun partnership. But just a couple of things before we begin. Do go get signed up on the Eventbrite page because we're going to be doing a drawing after this three-part series is over for some DemandQuest, some Google and Clearity swag. Plus, we'll be doing some gift cards too. So do get signed up for that, and you'll be automatically entered to win our drawing. And then also, please do some commenting and some reactions, and make sure to ask questions during the broadcast because we'll be monitoring that and giving those questions over to Ted to answer for the last 10 to 15 minutes of the broadcast. So with that, it is noon, so I'm going to go ahead and pass this over to Ted. Thank you so much.
Hey, thank you. So Guy Kawasaki actually recommended this software. So if anything breaks down, I'm going to blame him. It looks like our slideshow wasn't showing up correctly. Let me see if that works. No, it's still it's showing everybody in the audience presenter mode. Here we go. Yes, new AdWords features, knowing which ones are worth implementing and trying out. Again, I want to thank you guys for joining us. Please leave your comments, good or bad. I know this is, relatively new technology. We're trying to make the most of it, and this is our first go around. So we'll look to your feedback and how to improve this for everybody. And we'll get right into it. The first thing I want to talk about really quickly is we've got our training upcoming in Minneapolis. For those of you that are in the Midwest or in the Twin Cities Metro, you can save 5% on all of our digital marketing classes by using the promo code Facebook. Just check out DemandQuest.com. These are a lot of fun. I teach the Google AdWords class. I do the social media advertising class. And then we have different instructors for Google Analytics, our Analytics Bootcamp, SEO, and some of the others. But the classes are great. Our classroom here is really cool. If you haven't been to DemandQuest, we actually have beer on tap. It's a lot of fun, and it's really a labor of love, and we get to hang out and meet some really cool people. So one of the first things I want to talk about is the new interface and what we're using. If you're like me, and I suspect many of you are, I wasn't very excited. We're all resistant to change, and when I first saw that new interface, it was so different, and it still is kind of slow, and it's kind of kludgy from a navigation standpoint. But I've come to understand it a little bit better. I'm using it a lot more, and there are some new features that are available with the new interface that aren't available in the old interface, and so we're going to go through those. One of the most important are demographic targeting options for our search campaigns. As you may know, it was, we have the ability to do some audience targeting and remarketing lists for search ads in the old interface. With the new interface, I'm going to show you how demographic targeting has changed. And to me, that's been kind of a big awakening in a lot of my campaigns, and seeing by demo being able to do bid adjustments that are making my campaigns work. And we're going to use a client account that I just got as a relatively new client. So it hasn't been optimized. It's kind of been neglected, and you're going to see some really big insights when we start looking at the demographic information in this search campaign. As you can see on the screen here, we've always been able to see age and gender in our search campaigns, but now we can see parental status and household income and do bid adjustments based on those. So I want to go over that functionality with you. And then really spend some time talking about extensions. This is still one of the main things when I'm going through accounts, whether there are students that are coming in to learn how to use Google AdWords or how to optimize their campaigns, or their accounts that my team and I are taking over from people that have been running these for a while. is very few people are doing a good job of using all of the features in Google Ad extensions, and specifically with mobile devices. A lot of this has changed, and it's never been more important to take advantage of all of these extensions. So we'll go through that. We also have some updated reporting that I'm going to demonstrate for you guys as well. We can see more of a heat map for day and hour type reporting, as well as devices with various breakdowns by day and hour, time of day, and you can do it by cost per click, conversion rate, and things like that as well that we haven't been able to see in the past. We also have these great word cloud reports that show you can basically group search terms and kind of a keyword cloud by different things, by cost, by conversion rate. And it makes it a little bit easier to find negative keywords for some of the keywords that are really performing well for you. Then we're also rolling out some stuff in shopping. So I'm going to go into the new interface right now, and we'll come back to the PowerPoint, but I want to go over some of the things that we just mentioned. Then we'll come back to the PowerPoint. This is what we're using, by the way, for our Facebook Live conference. It's an app called Blue Jeans. And so far, I don't know, how was our feedback? We're getting good feedback, so I guess it's working. We are actually using the free trial right now, so feel free to check it out. Again, it was recommended by Guy Kawasaki. Here's the old AdWords interface. I think this is what many of us that have been using AdWords for the last decade are used to seeing. It really hasn't changed much. They've added features, they've added some functions, but the navigation and the layout really hasn't changed. And for a lot of us, I'm still hesitant to use that new interface. But one of the things I want to point out is if we're looking at our keywords or even our audience type, it's almost impossible here to look at segments or look at our keywords by a different dimension, like demographics, right? We can look at all of our keywords by distance, by user location, by the time of day, all of those things that we've probably been using for a long time. But we can't see those when we look at keywords with any kind of demographic information behind it. I'm going to go over to the new interface. And here we're looking at the exact same campaign. This is a residential search campaign for an outdoor weatherproof television company that I'm working with. And so you'll see if we select the campaign, and then you can actually select an ad group over here. Now we've got this tab for demographics. And so at the top, we're seeing age. And so now I'm looking at this data, and I'm breaking down really just our ad group by age. And then I've got, I need to set up some additional columns. One of the buggy things about the new interface is, for some reason, I cannot, conversions tab, that's me. Give me 1 second. Okay, there we go. Sorry, it's a little slow on my screen. Yeah. Sorry, I'm having a little bit of a trouble with my sidebar. Why doesn't this? Your sidebar doesn't have a scrolly. Anyway, if we're looking at this campaign by demographic, you can see some things that really stand out. And this is information that was a little bit more challenging to get in the old interface, if you could really get it at all. Our campaign, if you look at this top age bracket, 18 by 24, you can see our conversion value by cost is $8.06. That's an 8x return on investment. So within this demo, we've spent $1,600 or almost $1,700 in the last couple months, and a return on that's been $13,000 in sales. So that's huge. It's by far our best performing demographic. And so what we could do at this point is do a bid adjustment where we could increase our baseline bid 25% and try and generate more ads or show more ads to people in that demographic to influence sales. It makes it really easy to do that in this new interface. Likewise, as I'm going, if I can scroll down, we can see some demographics that aren't performing all that well. For example, this is our least performing demographic where we've spent $5,200 on AdWords in the last couple of months, and we've only generated $7,800 in sales. Now, for this client, that's probably not breaking even. So I want to go through and do a bid adjustment where I'm going to decrease my bids for that demographic by 50% and see what's happening. You can go through and do all of these bid adjustments based on the data that you're seeing in your account. But I suggest that everyone look at how demographics are reporting against your existing campaigns and make those adjustments sooner rather than later, because this was a little eye-opening for us. Right now, our biggest budget is going to this group, the 45 to 54. Our biggest part of our budget is going to that, followed by, or I guess our largest budget is going to people that we don't know. And that's still going to be one of our largest audiences when it comes to Google search and Google display campaigns, is this unknown bracket. And we'll see that in gender. We'll see it in household income as well. Because as much as we see in the media about how Facebook and Google knows everything about us, there's still the largest percentage of people on the web are anonymous on some level. We don't know their age for sure. So we want to make sure we always keep that available as an option in our campaigns, at least as long as the ROI is positive. And for us, if we scroll down, I think you'll see that it is. So we spent $27,000 within the unknown demographic, and our return was $80,000 on that. So that one looks pretty good. We might even want to increase our budget a little bit based on those numbers. But you want to check these out because it's a little surprising. I mean, this one here, this 45 to 54, it's still doing well. It's $13,000 in ad spend and $42,000 in sales. So we're doing okay. We're making money on that, but we probably want to adjust our bids a little bit lower for this particular demographic. Now let's move over to gender. Now remember, we're talking about weatherproof outdoor televisions, and so I think this has always skewed a little bit more towards the guys that want to sit outside in the rain and watch football for whatever reason. It's never made a whole lot of sense to me, but we'll see here that our conversion value, this is one I like to look at a lot, is conversion value divided by cost. This is the metric that actually shows your return on investment within an ad campaign based on a conversion value. Now remember that you don't need to have an e-commerce site or e-commerce transactions to have a conversion value. What's really important, and what a lot of people don't do, is they don't assign a dollar value to all of the conversions on your site. So even if you're not doing e-commerce, if you're doing B2B lead gen for a software company, you want to give a value to a form submission, an email, a video view, a white paper download. All of those things should have different values, because without a conversion value, you're not going to be able to get any of the data that you need to optimize these campaigns. Right now, we're obviously looking at an e-commerce site, but you should have all of these numbers in your account, regardless if you're e-commerce or not. And so right here, we can see unknown is obviously performing the best with almost a 4-to-1 return on ad spend. The gentlemen are doing a little bit better, basically, twice as good as the female demographic in this. And again, it just makes it really easy to go through and say, you know what, I'm going to decrease my bids just a little bit based on the fact that these different demographic options are performing differently within my campaign. The latest, and this one, I haven't seen a huge difference in my accounts. There have been a few eye-opening things. But let's go over to household income. So this is absolutely a new feature in the interface, is where you can look at household income data and how they relate to a specific campaign. So I'm going to go back down here. And we'll see our various conversion values, our total conversion value, and then our conversion value by cost. And this one is actually a little interesting. If you look at this household income group here in the new interface, the top 11 to 20% or the top 20 to 11% in household income is performing by far and away the best, with an over 5 times return on investment for this particular group. You can also see that the lower 50% of household income is our least performing. Not surprising. A weatherproof outdoor television is absolutely considered a luxury item. So this is not surprising. Now, for the first time ever, we can go into this campaign and do a negative bid adjustment. For this, I'm going to go negative 50% and save that, and basically drop those bids to the floor for that group that's not performing as well as some of these top tier groups. And within this one, I'm actually going to do a little bit of a bid adjustment of an increase of 25% for the group that's performing the best. So hopefully this is something, again, I was very hesitant to really spend a lot of time in this new interface when it first arrived. It still runs kind of slow. So if you're trying to do a lot of fast work and things that, if you're trying to do things quickly, obviously the AdWords editor is going to be your best bet. And even the old interface for using some of the standard features and account setup stuff that you're not going to change, geographic targeting, I think, is still easier in the old interface. But I really wanted to show these new gender, age, and household income demographic bidding options. While we're here, and it wasn't on the slideshow, I do want to point out the Audiences tab. This is what allows us to target our ads or exclude our ads from people based on the audiences that we've created. Typically, these are remarketing audiences. You can see in this account, we've got several remarketing audiences, basically all the visitors that have been on our site. This one looks like it hasn't been set up well. And then you also have similar to all visitors. These are very similar to the lookalike audiences that we have in Facebook. One of the things I think a lot of accounts are really falling down on is they're not taking advantage of audience targeting within their search campaigns. One of the things that you can very easily do is exclude everybody that's been on your site within the last 30 days. Not that we don't want those people clicking on our ads, but I like to split test our campaigns. So we have one of our search campaigns targeting new visitors, because depending on the goals of the campaign and the client, we want to target new business, and we want to exclude existing customers and existing users from seeing our ads. And so you can go and exclude all visitors here. I'm not going to do it for this account. And then you would go through and duplicate that campaign, and you would basically include audiences. You're basically excluding all visitors from one, and then you do another campaign that was specifically targeted to people that have already been on your website. What you're going to see is a much lower cost per click when you split these two campaigns up by audience, people that have been to your site and people that haven't. You're going to see a much higher click-through rate and a much lower cost per click in the account that's going after people that know you, people that have been to your site in the last 30 days, 7 days, however you have it set up. But you're also going to have better analytics on what your new visitors are doing on your site when they come from your paid search ads. And you can also target the lookalike audiences, which I really like to bid higher. Like, we've got accounts where we have audiences for people that we know really enjoy Legos. I've got a large toy store as a client, and we know the people that spend a whole bunch of time looking at Legos, reviewing Legos. They're Lego geeks like I am. And so we've created that audience on our site, but then we've also created, or Google will automatically create by default, a similar audience or a lookalike audience to those people. And we've had a lot of success in adding that similar to people that really love playing with Legos and bidding very aggressively for those audience types across the search network. One of the other things that we're going to see here in the new interface, I think we're all used to looking at these ads and also ad extensions. Going back to our old interface, if we're looking at ad extensions, these are the options that we have. And I'm looking at the same account. We've got site links, callouts, and everything else below. If we're in the new interface and we look at ad extensions, there might be a couple of things here that pop out. The first one is a promotion extension. This is a new extension. They've been talking about it for a long time. It's been in beta for a very long time, but it's available now within the new interface, and it's something that's not available in this interface. This is something that's really just a must-have for almost any search campaign that people are running, is this ad extension promotion. It shows you the preview, right? It's the $1 off. It's the little price tag next to it. This is what it looks like on search on a desktop. It shows deal, then whatever $1 off the item. And on mobile, it's got the little price tag with 0 off the item. There's not ever, I can't think of any accounts where it doesn't make sense to use some kind of % discount or monetary discount on the products and services that you're selling. Excuse me, kids are back in school, and so they're bringing all those fun germs home. I think a lot of us are probably dealing with that as well. But I want to show you some of these extensions, or just show you where they all live. Google is putting more and more emphasis on extensions and using extensions within your account. Virtually everybody should be using site link extensions. I've never seen a Google AdWords account that couldn't benefit immediately from using site links to their fullest. Callout extensions are showing up a lot better on mobile devices these days. They're using callout extensions in a new format that we'll go over when we get back to the PowerPoint presentation. Structured snippets have been around forever. If they apply to your business, I would absolutely use these. Call extensions. If your business accepts phone calls, then absolutely use call extensions. Messaging, this is for mobile. It's for text to your business. If you're a business that is transactional, where you actually have the bandwidth to text back and forth with your clients, this has been a great extension. It's not applicable to every business that exists, but if you have a business where you could send and receive text, and that's something that would make sense for your customers and clients, then I'd definitely encourage you to do this. Locations extensions, again, if you're serving customers at your business, you absolutely have to use these. Affiliates are just other businesses that sell your products. This isn't something that's applicable to a lot of us, but if it is, you'd want to use it. Price extensions, this is relatively new. But what I like is that you can add different prices for your products. So you could do, Honda Accord, not 200,000, per month. Actually, you could do like a lease payment. So, $200 Honda Accord lease, $200 per month. Drive a new Honda today. And different URLs for your final mobile URL and your final display URL. But it's very easy to set these up now. This used to require a lot of custom work and HTML feeds and things like that to bring price extensions into your account. Now it's really, really easy to create a lot of these. And the ad groups that use these see a much higher quality score and a much lower cost per click. Google is putting a lot more emphasis in how they calculate our quality score for our ads and keywords based on how many extensions we're using. So there's never been a better time to take advantage of all of these. Play around with every single one of these extensions and do your best to figure out a legitimate and strategic way to use these. So going back to the PowerPoint, one thing that's a little hard to demo, but if some of you are using Google Shopping campaigns, these are those fun ads. Again. Is it the browser? Okay. For shopping campaigns, let me go back here just to make sure we're all on the same page. These are what I'm talking about. They're the ads at the top of the page that show the image of the product. Okay, sorry, a little bit of a delay. Maybe it's the trial version of the software that we're using today. But really quickly, I want to touch on shopping campaigns. If anyone in the audience is actually doing e-commerce and selling things online, you absolutely have to be taking advantage of these Google shopping campaigns. By a huge margin, these are the most successful Google advertising campaigns that I run, is when we set up very targeted Google shopping campaigns. Going back to our presentation, we've had some new features here, and it's a new attribute or a new metric in our shopping campaign. You guys see it? Yep, we're good. Okay. It's the new shopping campaign metric that shows the absolute top spot. This has been one of the hardest things for me in optimizing these campaigns. Is in the past, we never saw any data about where we were showing up in this carousel. And so now they have an ad metric that shows the absolute top spot, which for Google shopping campaigns is the one on our left as we're looking at the screen. And that is absolutely the highest performing spot for Google shopping campaigns. So we can see that now. So if you're not taking advantage of these, or if you are, make sure you're looking at that new metric called absolute top in the new interface and adjusting your bids accordingly to try and get into that position, because it is by far the highest performing position in that Google search campaign. And then quickly, before we start taking questions, I want to talk about AMP landing pages, or accelerated mobile pages. Google has been making a huge emphasis on mobile for a very, very long time. And it's honestly something that when I would talk to my Google reps and my counterparts, it would drive me crazy, because for a lot of my clients, I didn't think mobile was as big of a deal as a lot of people made it out to be. I don't know too many people that are going to buy a $5,000 zero-turn lawnmower from their cell phone while they're sitting at the DMV waiting to get their tabs renewed. So for a lot of my kind of legacy or enterprise businesses, mobile advertising really wasn't a huge priority, because most of the purchase decisions and research were done in a desktop. So Google's been making a big push for mobile for a long time. Now, one of the things that's important for us to understand is the concept of accelerated mobile pages. And basically, there's a little demo on the screen right now, and I think we've all experienced this when we're on our phones. Pages that load instantly and pages that take a couple seconds, sometimes longer than a couple seconds. I think one of the reasons I hadn't seen really good results in my mobile campaigns is because of the kind of the poor experience that a lot of my legacy enterprise level customers' mobile sites had for their users. If we're spending money on ad traffic and it takes 3 or 4 seconds to load that page, or that page, wasn't fast, wasn't mobile friendly, then of course our paid search results were going to suffer as a result. With the acceleration of these accelerated mobile pages and more companies adopting this technology to get these pages loading fast, I'm seeing a pretty massive increase in businesses I wouldn't have assumed would see an increase in their paid search results as it relates to mobile campaigns based on this. So this is just something to be aware of. I would encourage your clients to adopt this, to really pay attention to the mobile experience and the speed on their site, and consider AMP technology, because I'm seeing huge increases in the effectiveness of our paid search campaigns on mobile in areas where I never thought I would see it in the past. Another recent change is they're finally pushing to have at least 3 to 5 ads per ad group. When I go out to Google headquarters and I talk to the engineers and I talk to the people that are building all these great tools that we're using as advertisers, one of the most frustrating things for the people at Google is a huge percentage of our advertisers that are using Google AdWords have ad groups with 1 ad in it. Now, I know no one on this call is guilty of that, right? I'm sure we all have at least 3 to 5, sometimes more, different ads in each one of our ad groups. But unfortunately, a very, very large percentage of Google advertisers have 1 ad per ad group. And so now they're pushing to have at least 3 to 5. And what it means is we're going to start getting notifications telling us we need to add additional ads in our ad group. So hopefully that'll bring up and at least remind some of us that we need to add additional ads. And then we also have this really cool way to create more ads with the create a second ad with the ad headline in reverse. When I first saw this and I saw create a second ad with the headline in reverse order, I thought, why on earth, how does this make any sense whatsoever? But what it does is it makes it really, really easy to create additional ads for your campaign just by checking this box. It doesn't mean you just need to accept those default headlines, because depending on how you're structuring your original headline, the reverse order may not make sense. But a lot of times it makes it really easy to add that second ad, and it can save you a lot of time. So I would go through and try this out and play with this. In some of my accounts, we did a really good job where all of our headlines, I never even realized it, but a lot of our headlines worked really well when you put them in reverse order in this tool. And so it very instantly created a huge group of additional ads per all of our ad groups that worked. In other accounts, we did this and nothing made sense. We basically had to go through and manually do it. But it was a nice feature, that one that I didn't know was coming, which was kind of unique, that I saw that showed up, and that's had some value, and it's definitely saved me some time. We also have, there's an AdWords pilot where they basically create ads for you. This was a test that I was part of almost a year ago, where they would automatically create ads for you, text ads for you based on landing pages and the keywords and based on your existing ads. We've all seen the dynamic ads that they can do where you generate, the description line 1, description line 2, but the headlines generated dynamically based on the products and landing pages on your site. This is a little bit different in that it basically tweaked your existing ads and with content from your landing pages, and kind of combined those two things. It was kind of an interesting process. Some of it worked well for me in the past, but it didn't allow you to make any changes, which was a big problem for me. I couldn't change the ad. I could only approve it or deny it. Now in the new test, we're able to make changes to the ads that Google's recommending, and we can run them for a limited time and see how they perform. So that's something it's probably not going to get rolled out into AdWords globally anytime soon. But for those of you that are part of the Google Partnership Program, I would suggest you talk to your rep and ask to get involved in that test, because I have seen some pretty good results in that. And here's some more information about the review period. Again, callouts. Callouts are looking a lot different on mobile devices these days. I would just really encourage you to use the callout features in these ads. Here's another example. This is what it looks like in the old interface. But make sure you're using these to extend your ad. As we all know, the bigger your ad is on the page, the more extensions you're using, you're going to see a definite increase in click-through rate, which is ultimately going to decrease your costs and increase your quality score. And real quick, a little bit of fun, and it was something that I think is very welcome. One of the most annoying things for me and one of the most embarrassing things for me is when a client sees one of my display ads on a site with ads that look like this. What's great is that Google is finally cracking down, or at least attempting to crack down on these ads, right? I mean, I don't think there's anything worse than seeing a client ad directly above or below one trick of a tiny belly, cut down on your belly every day by simply using this one weird old tip. Has never made a CEO or VP of marketing happy in the history of marketing. So one thing, it's nice to pay attention to this. I'd love to see an increase in cracking down on these annoying ads, but Google is taking a stab at it. And I'm hoping it helps all of us as advertisers look a little bit better when we're not showing up next to, the back pages of the web. So at this point, we'll take some questions. Do we have time for questions? We don't have any questions. Is there a question?
Yeah, I was wondering if there were any new integrated overview reports that you have found to be very helpful.
Integrated overview reports. Let me go back to the interface here and see. Actually, I really, frankly, I haven't.
Okay.
In the new interface, I really haven't played around with the reporting in the new interface probably as much as I should have. I typically use third-party reporting tools for all my campaigns, because AdWords reporting, as most people are probably aware, was awful, and it's gotten better. And so I've never really relied on AdWords reporting, but there are new reporting features. We touched on some of the dimensions and things that you could see. But in the AdWords interface, I would encourage everybody to check it out, and maybe we could all learn something from our reporting.
Okay. Well, let me try to get my. So guys, it's
We got Jenna back.
Jenna again. And I just wanted to encourage you guys to sign up for our next 2 events. We're going to have one in October on the 12th, which I believe is also a Thursday. And that one's going to be going over conversion stuff, right?
Yes.
There it is. Yeah, conversion tracking and the failures of Google's attribution modeling. So that's actually a request that we've gotten from several people talking about attribution being one of the tougher things in AdWords. So we're going to be covering that. And then on November 9th, we're going to be doing our last part in this series where we're covering the AdWords or advanced remarketing and defining audiences that your business actually cares about. So really good for those who need remarketing. And then I just wanted to point out that we have some cool swag. If I can kind of show you guys. Swag. So when you sign up for any of these series, these parts in our series, we're automatically entering you to win the swag and also some gift cards. So do get signed up. That's the only way that you can get entered in for the drawing. And then just quickly want to let you guys know that if you're interested in events like this, if you want to know what's happening in the Twin Cities, one way to find out is to go ahead and sign up for our Scoop newsletter at Clearity.com. It's a bi-weekly newsletter that you guys would get, just kind of updating you on all of our new jobs, any of the new events that are coming up in the Twin Cities that have something to do with digital marketing, creative, or technology. So it's a great one-stop shop for getting to know what's happening in the community. So Ted, do you want to?
I think that's it. Thank you guys. Have a great week, and enjoy the weather, and we'll see you in a couple weeks.